I wanted to create one of my favorite recipes at our local restaurant. Now, they will take their beef birria and turn it into tacos, quesadillas, but they have this new loaded fries appetizer. It's actually really good. And so that's what we're going to create. We are going to take this chuck roast that I have, and for $25 is what this cost. I'm going to be able to create beef birria and turn it into multiple meals to feed our family, and we could not get out of the restaurant for this cost. And so just one of those things that we're trying to do as like everybody trying to kind of cut their expenses. So I'm going to go ahead and start to get this ready, and then I want to show you guys, because it does cook in the crock pot. I will make sure to link the original recipe below. I have tweaked it a little bit for things that I have found I prefer better, and I do like to cook this in the crock pot versus the oven, which is what the original recipe calls for. So I've just got my crock pot here. I'm going to go ahead and put in the meat. Now, in the original recipe, she does say to trim all the fat and cut it into chunks. I don't do that. I'm just going to set the chuck roast in here. Now, a lot of times I will actually do this from frozen, and then I will let the meat cook overnight. This time I pulled it out. It's still a little frozen. I pulled it out yesterday and put it in the fridge, but it'll be perfectly fine. We're going to cook this on highs. All right, so the first thing I'm going to add is beef broth. Now, I will say this doesn't look a whole lot like beef broth. It is water with the bouillon base in here. I did stir it, but you can see there is the base itself. You could warm this up and get it completely mixed up, but honestly, it's all going to cook in the crock pot, so it's not going to matter. Let me grab a spatula. Let's get out the rest of that. So we're just going to dump it all in here. You don't even have to put it in a measuring cup. Just measure the water and drop the bouillon base or cubes, or if you have beef broth, either one will work. So here's what I'm going to do. All of her recipes call for dried chilies. I do not. I have some dried chilies, but what I've done is I have this powder because oh, you guys can't see that. Hold on. Okay, back you up just a little bit. Okay, so what I have is this powder version of the pepper. This, and I apologize if I pronounce this wrong, chile de arbol. Sorry, I'm really bad at those kinds of things. Instead of buying a bunch of dried peppers, what I decided to do was just find the powder version of this. Found it to be easier, and I just put in 1 teaspoon. You could do dried if you have them. I just found this to work, and it works really well. So if it works, I'm not going to change it. But what I also found is these pepper pastes, and we really like these. And so I just add this in replace of the dried peppers, and it works really well. And I just squirt about a tablespoon or 2 of the peppers into it. I don't even measure. I never have. It's kind of worked out that way every time I've made this, and I have made this several times. I think at least 4 or 5 times I've made it, and it's worked every single time. All right, so now we're going to add in 1.5 tablespoons of kosher salt. I'm just using actual sea salt flakes, and that works the same. Right, and then I'm going to be adding in, let's see, so the original recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I like to just do half. I found that the first time I made it with 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, it was too much. It was a bit overpowering, so I cut it in half, and that seems to work great. Now I'm going to be adding in 2 teaspoons of dried oregano. I do have Mexican oregano that I'm going to use. Also going to be adding in 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. Oops. All right, I'm gonna drop in 2 bay leaves. These are kind of tiny. You want to make sure that they're whole because you are going to pull them out later. Also gonna add in, let's see, 2 teaspoons of black pepper. Now it does say freshly cracked, but I'm just using already ground pepper. Again, I've not had an issue. I've just found that if I change a few things, it seems to be totally fine with no issue. So now I'm gonna add in some garlic. And just 1 teaspoon of the garlic. Now it does call for ground ginger and I don't have any. Oh, I grabbed my garlic, I'll be right back. So what I'm gonna use, ooh, I don't know if you guys can see that, is this ground ginger paste. And I'm just gonna squeeze about a teaspoon-ish or so of it. I'm gonna be adding in 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. So what you add next is 2 cans of fire roasted tomatoes. And I don't always have fire roasted on hand, so I just have diced tomatoes. You're just gonna drop the juice and all into there. Having regular tomatoes is going to be perfectly fine. It's not going to alter the flavor at all. So if you don't have fire roasted, don't worry about it. This is going to be perfectly fine. It does make an amazing broth by the time it's all said and done. And so the flavors are definitely there from all the spices. So don't worry about that part. Now I'm just going to give it a quick mix like this. Again, it will all infuse together, so don't worry too much if you just throw water, the broth base, if you don't have already canned beef broth or packaged from the store, you can just use those. Now the last thing we're going to add in is the onions. Now I prefer to leave them quartered like this. I found it's actually easier once the meat's done and I pull the meat out to shred it, to have the onion chunked like that. I'm just gonna put the lid on and lock it into place and turn it on high, and I'm gonna cook it for 6 hours. Now I'm gonna start it at 6. Usually I do, like I said, I do this overnight, so I've never actually done it during the day. So I'm gonna start at 6. I think it'll be perfectly fine because again, most of the roast was already thawed. Do wanna say too, when you're cutting your onions, peeling your carrots, cutting off the stalks of your celery, whatever it would be, take them and put them in a freezer bag and put them in the freezer. I love to take my scraps like this and either turn them into vegetable stock or use it as the base for chicken stock when it's time to can. I have a bunch downstairs already canned, so I'm starting to save again as I cook whole chickens and have bones. Put those in the freezer and wait until I have at least 5 or 6 chicken bones, like whole chicken bones in the freezer. And then I have all my scraps. And if I don't have enough, I'll go out and buy it. But don't waste. This is a good way to use this. And again, if you want just to make vegetarian stock, perfectly fine with water, veggie scraps, let them cook for a few hours and then it'll infuse and make excellent stock. So just want to throw that in there. So I'm gonna get this plugged in, get this on high for 6 hours, and I will see you guys back tonight when it's time to pull this out. And I will let you know if it took longer than 6 hours. I don't think it will, but don't hold me to that. Let's find out when it comes to tonight, and then I'll show you how we're going to assemble tonight's dinner. Okay, welcome back. It has now been, oh gosh, probably about 7 hours or so since I put the roast in the crock pot. I just let it go for until almost dinner time. So I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when it's all done. Now again, I put this in probably around 8:30 this morning and it's about 4:30, so it might even be more like 8 hours actually. And so low and slow you can do. I left mine on high. Either one works. It's really kind of up to you. You can do this overnight or in the morning. If you do it in the morning, I would say put it on high and let it go as long as possible. So let me show you what I've got. All right, as you can see, this is what it looks like. Now, I'm going to do a couple of things. I am going to pull out the meat, and then we're going to clean it and shred it and put it back into the broth. But before we put it back in the broth, I'm going to go ahead and strain out the tomatoes and onions. You could leave them in here. I am making this decision based on how our local restaurant serves it, which is they will strain the broth and then put fresh onion and cilantro inside right before they serve it. So I'm going to go ahead and get a bowl and a strainer. Okay, so you could leave it in, but I take mine out. This is why I like to leave the onions in quarter, or the onion in quarter. It makes it a lot easier to pull it out. Aside. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the meat shredded, and then I'm going to stick it in here. What I'm also going to do too, when it comes time to store this, I will store the meat. I will store the meat separately, and then the broth, if there's any left over, then we will go ahead and freeze it as well. And we'll freeze the broth in a separate container, because I will vacuum seal any meat that's left. And then that way it stays fresher a lot longer than if you just put it into a freezer bag. And I'm going to get another plate for the fat, or even just move the meat over like this. I like to clean it as much as possible because most people don't really like to bite into and chew on the fat of a pot roast. I've got all of the meat shredded, and so it is super tender. And so I'm just going to stick it back in to the crock pot. I'm not going to turn the crock pot back on because it's almost 5 o'clock, so it is close to dinner. This will stay hot enough until I need to use it. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and start to get the rest of the ingredients together to show you how I make the loaded birria fries. And again, remember that this is something one of our local restaurants does, and it's so good that I wanted to create it at home so we don't have to go out. I'm going to go ahead and get the fries cooking and get out the cheese dip, and then I'm also going to get a few more ingredients together. I don't have absolutely everything for the birria fries, but that's okay. We're going to work with what we've got. Again, this is all about recreating something that we enjoy at a restaurant where we can have it at home without having to spend all the money that it would take to go to a restaurant to pay for everybody. A few ingredients that I do have to put this together is French fries. I'm going to bake them instead of frying them, just because that's what I want to do. But you can fry them, make them super crispy. I just don't feel like cleaning my oil, replacing it. It's okay. I've been painting all day as we're still trying to get the house done. And so this is going to be a lot easier for me. So I've got crispy shoestring potatoes. And then I also have this brand of queso. I found it at Sam's Club, and we really, really like it. And so it's got a lot of flavor, a little bit of a kick, but not like overwhelming. And so we've got this that's going to go on the fries. And then you top it with pickled red onions, which we love a lot. And so the Cleveland Kitchen is the brand that I like to have on hand. And so I find them to be really, really good. I try to only buy them when they're BOGO at Publix, because they can be a little pricey. I need to make my own, but I just haven't gotten that far yet. So This will go on top. Now you can also top this with fresh pico, cilantro as well. I don't have either one of those things in my house, and that's okay. These are going to be really good still with the fries, the cheese, the meat, and the pickled red onions. So waiting for my oven to heat up, and we go ahead and get the fries on the sheet pan and get those ready. Once they're done, we'll heat up the cheese and then we'll assemble. Fries are done and the cheese is heated up. I've pulled out the meat, so I'm going to show you really quick how I assemble this, and then it's super simple. My fries on my plate. All I'm going to do is top it with the beef birria, and you can put these in the pan and crisp them up if you want your meat just a touch crispier. And then from here, all I'm gonna do now, in the restaurant, they serve it in a little container, so you can pour the cheese on once it hits the table. And so that way your fries don't sog out. However, I'm just going to drizzle like this. And you can add as much or as little as you want. And then I am just going to top it with the pickled, I can get them out, with the pickled onions. And I love pickled onions, so I will probably go a little heavy on the pickled onions. You can do as little or as much as you want. And then remember, you can add on pico, you can add on cilantro, you can add a few more things to this if you want. But there is the final dish. Super simple and so tasty. And try it just to see. Again, I'm almost positive they crisp up the meat a little bit, but I'm not gonna worry about that tonight. So I just wanna have something super quick and simple, and this fits the bill. So let's see. It's also very hot. It's so good. It really is one of my favorites. We just had it several nights ago, and that's why I was like, you know what, I've got the meat in the freezer. I want to make it so yummy and so easy. I mean, again, threw it in the crock pot this morning, just let it cook on high until dinner time. You saw what we did. Shredded it, strained it, and then just cook the fries, assemble. So easy, so good. I think everybody will really like this. The acid from the onions help cut through the richness of the cheese. So really good. So hope you guys enjoy the video. I am back. I can't promise that I'll be back continuously because you never know what life is going to throw at us. We have lots of things going on, but I am going to try hard to be back to share with you guys more of our favorite recipes, or even just try new recipes with you guys that I've never done before. So thank you for joining me, and I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.